Hi guys. Today we're going to continue working with making connections when we're talking about reading books and reading texts and how we need to make those connections to help us be able to understand the text better, help us be able to make a better determination of what the author is trying to tell us and what we need to learn from the text, whether it be fiction or nonfiction. So I'm just going to real quick go over our anchor chart from last week to remind you of the different types of connections you can make, and then we're going to go over another anchor chart for this week. So last week we talked about how making connections, you do it through text to self, which is it reminds you of something that has happened to you or someone close to you. The next one is text to text. It reminds you of a book or something that you've read before. And then there's text to world. It reminds you of something that's going on in the world today. I know the forefront is this coronavirus and the shutdown of schools and the shutdowns of businesses, but there's other things going on in the world as well. So keep in mind those other things when you make those connections. Okay, so today's anchor chart is making connections with fictional text. I know we've done that. We did that last week, but we kind of did it on a surface level. But I want to go a little bit deeper. I want to go into more of what the fictional text is talking about. So we did talk about characters, but I want you to focus on the major character this week and what connections you can make to that character. Give me a specifics, tell me exactly what trait it is that you connect to, not just that I connect with the major character. Why do you connect with that major character? What about that character do you connect with? The events. What's the problem? What's the solution? Don't just tell me some events throughout the story. Tell me what the problem is. What's that problem? What's that solution? And how do you connect to that problem or the solution? And then the theme. What's the lesson that the author's trying to teach us? What have you learned? And then what connections can you make to that theme? And then, of course, we didn't talk about this last week, and this is important. This is something we need to concentrate on as well, is author's purpose. Why did that author write that text? What was the reason for the author to write it? Was it to inform you, to entertain you, to persuade you, to give an opinion, to explain something? And what connection can you make to that text? So, with that being said, I'm going to read to you the text I'm using to be the example for this week on the graphic organizer. So here is the text that I chose. It's called Building a Fire. So I'm going to read it to you really quickly. I'm trying to choose short, quick texts so that way we're not taking as much time on the video. It's called Building a Fire. Good job setting up your tents, forest friends. Who wants s'mores? Called Mr. Griffin. Me, shouted several forest friends as they huddled around their pack leader. Okay then, said Mr. Griffin. Who knows how to safely build a fire? Several hands in the group shot up. But by using friction? Asked Mr. Griffin, with a smile on his face. All the hands but one went down. Jen, how can we make a fire using friction? By rubbing two sticks together, said Jen, though she didn't sound all that sure. That's right, said Mr. Griffin. Rubbing two objects together makes them both heat up because of friction. That's why rubbing your hands together on a cold day warms them up. Here, I'll show you. Mr. Griffin picked up two dry sticks and began to rub them together lightly. He rubbed them together faster and faster, but couldn't get the sticks to catch fire. Finally, he fell off his log and lay on the ground, exhausted. I'm okay, he laughed as the kids huddled around him. I'm just a little out of shape, he panted. I said I would show you how to start a fire using friction, and I will. He pulled out a book of matches from his jacket pocket. Friction is also what causes the chemical coating on the head of a matchstick to catch fire, he said. He dragged the match across the friction strip on the matchbook. Whoosh! The match burst into flame. Hooray! Shouted the forest friends. All right, so this story is what I'm going to use to fill out our graphic organizer. So this is the graphic organizer for making connections with fictional text for this week. It's a different one than we used last week. So you're going to need to write your title of your book, Building a Fire, or the book you have to use in your text, because all of you have different texts, depending on your group. So we're going to talk about the character, the major character, and what connections that I made. So it says, Mr. Griffin likes to teach the kids, and he was determined to teach them how to make a fire using friction. It wasn't how he planned, but he did show them how, meaning he used the matches instead. It was still using friction. So the connection I made is I am a teacher and I am determined to teach you. So that's the connection that I made to Mr. Griffin. Now, the problem, the event says describe the problem and the solution. What connections can you make? Problem is he couldn't get the fire to light by rubbing sticks together, but his solution was he used matches. I remember the book Hunger Games. Katniss tried to teach someone how to start a fire by rubbing sticks together. So that is a text-to-text connection. This was text to self. This was text to text. Okay, the theme. Tell me the lesson you learned from the story. What connections can you make? There were 2 lessons that I learned. 1, never give up. And he kept trying. Remember, he kept trying to rub those sticks together. But he eventually had to change what he did, but he still did not give up. Always be prepared was the second lesson I learned. He brought matches just in case. So he was prepared to make sure that he had that for his kids. And then, so the connection I made is when you teach, you always have to be prepared for the unexpected. And that for sure is me, because hello, I'm teaching you from my house. That is definitely not something I've ever done before. So I had to be prepared for that. So that's a lesson that I learned. And then the author's purpose of the story. It says, tell me about why the author wrote the story. How do you know? Provide evidence from the text. Okay, so the author wrote the story to entertain us and also to teach us a lesson. So a lot of times authors write stories that entertain, but usually they have a lesson that come with them. Because in life, there's lessons all the time, and we just need to learn to look for those lessons. So I said my evidence was that it was funny, like when he fell off the log and he said he was out of shape. And I also learned a lesson from it, because I learned that, you always need to be prepared and to just never give up. So that is the Making Connections with Fictional Text lesson for today. Each group has 2 different ways that you can complete your assignment. Of course, one is always you can complete the graphic organizer and submit it to me in Canvas. Or each group has a different avenue, a second option to do, and you just need to look for that when you go into your assignments, and you can submit it in those either way. So make sure that you are doing that. Also, if you have not watched the announcement video that I posted today, you will want to go and watch that. It is very, very interesting. I hope y'all have a great week. Have a good day. Bye.